All right, welcome back to the Hot Pass podcast, everybody.
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back.
It's nice to be back. We kind of had to dump the last episode because had some technical difficulties, but this one everything should be working and sound really well. So I'm excited.
It's going good so far.
Yeah,
Yep.
clearly. So today we have a guest on. This is Trevor Brown.
The other Trevor.
Yeah, the other
Yeah.
Trevor.
The
I
other
guess I'll
Trevor.
step in here. This is my father, guys. We've talked about him on the pod before. He's quite the fella. You guys have definitely heard about him because I tell a lot of stories.
Yeah, this is Dada.
This is the guy.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone talk about their dad as much as Gavin has.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's okay.
It's because I threatened him. I tell him to make sure to tell people how cool I am. He's basically my marketing department. So, but no, I'm stoked to be on here. I'm a longtime fan of the Hot Pass podcast.
Day one fan.
OG. I've been here since the beginning.
Yep.
I've been a fan of Gavin even longer. I've been a fan probably for almost 20 years now. I've been a fan of Gavin.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes I shouldn't say all the time. It hasn't been consistently for that period of time.
There's
Sometimes,
a
few times I wasn't a fan of him, but no, it's I'm excited to be on your guys' podcast. I've been pushing for you guys to do this as soon as I heard that you thought about doing it. I've had a podcast now, the Wreak Havoc podcast. You go subscribe to that. Maybe I can get a few listeners off of the loyal Hot Pass podcast listeners.
Let's hope.
The Wreak Havoc podcast. It's WREAK for those that can't spell. We have a sales business marketing podcast we've been doing for almost 6 years now, and just had a really good time doing that, talking about our end of the stuff. And I just think that there's a real need for young welding podcast out there.
Oh yeah.
We're here to fill that space
Yep.
and fill our face with breakfast burritos.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different aspect when you guys have video. Like, we don't do video, so you have video, and so you're seeing your stuff in your face. We can drink and eat and do whatever we want to do, and no one sees it. You guys are
But they can see it.
right there.
But I'm still not going to change it, though. I'm still going to eat.
That's right. It's
We're-
keeping it real.
It's a
we're real-
basic
we're real
human
humans.
need.
Authentic.
Yeah.
That's what people like.
We're real humans. I'm going to eat.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
Fresh right off the deal.
All right. Well, let's get into it.
All right. Well, Trevor, how about let's start off with just a little bit of what you do.
So, just off of camera here, my beautiful wife and I, the girl boss, they call her. If you listen to our podcast, you'll hear she's our co-host on there, and she's the smart one on the podcast. So, her and I, we're in the construction industry. We own innovative custom homes. We own innovative building products and innovative drafting and design. If you see a kind of a pattern there, they're all innovative. But we specialize in insulated concrete forms, all sales, construction, training, consulting, everything. And then we have that the design company actually draws plans for ICF homes and stick frame homes. But basically been in construction my whole life, and we've kind of worked our way to a point now where we're general contracting a few houses, kind of handpicking who we want to work with now, really pushing the sales and of the products that we sell, the innovative products through the building products company, and then kind of keeping it rolling with the drafting company. So out there hustling, but I'm still standing on ladders and stacking block and doing stuff at 49 years old. So it's always about the hustle. That's why I like listening to some of your guys' podcasts talking about it's all about the hustle, and you guys have definitely got that.
Yeah. We're trying.
Yeah, it's my main goal.
Well, would you want to kind of walk us through a little bit how you got your start in like business ownership and like what drove you to own your own business and not just work for somebody else?
So that's a great question, Trevor. Other Trevor. We had, it's pretty crazy. So I was younger than you guys. I was in high school and was working at the lumberyard. And funny, totally random deal, but we had I worked at the lumberyard and we sold kits to make swing sets. I don't know if you've seen like the wood swing set kits and stuff. Well, they come in a box and then you go out and buy all the lumber to build them, and it comes with directions and stuff. So at that time, we were getting a ton of people wanting to have those built, and I started calling all of our customers and asking them and saying, "Hey, do you guys want to do this? I got this. I got a single mom. She wants a swing set built." And all these contractors, this is back in the late 80s, early 90s, and all these contracts were so busy, they were like, no, not going to do it. It's too small, not too small. Finally, one guy's like, why don't you do it? He's like, you can make some money doing that on the side. Why don't you go do it? And I was like, never really thought of it that much. And it's like, okay, yeah, I can do that. And I've, unfortunately to a fault, and Gavin's got the same problem, I don't say no to a lot of stuff. And then if I don't know how to do it, I'll figure it out. So it's like, yeah, I can do that. So I started building these swing sets, and I started my first business when I think I was 17. And it was called TC Rec Creations. I thought that was super smart. Recreations, like TC Recreations. Like I was creating recreational. It was bad. I was 17. And TC was my nickname. That's my initials, TCB. And so I thought it was TC Recreations was. Anyway,
should have done T-Rex.
That could have been cool. Yeah. God damn it. See, where were you 30 years ago?
Yeah, T-Rex.
That would have been way better.
Shit.
If I could just travel back into, I might start a swing set company now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You might as
I
well.
might do it again just so I can get back in the game with the right name.
Genius.
But with that same affliction I have of not saying no to stuff and just always figuring it out, I did it. I'd build a swing set for somebody, and then they'd be like, "Oh, I wish you knew how to do fences. I need a fence built." I'm like, "Oh, I can do that." And they're like, "Well, I wish you knew how to build a deck. I need a deck built." Yeah, I can do that. And we just I kind of just kept moving it along to where it was just I kept doing that stuff, and just like you guys are doing. Once I figured out that I could make more money working for myself, and I was in full control of, if I hustled harder and worked more hours, I made more money, not like stuck at like, oh, I hope I get a raise, or I hope they give me more money.
Yeah, or I have to work overtime to get the extra money.
Right. If they'll let me. And I mean, and it was just always up to somebody else at that point. And, and I, just like you guys, I was working in a lumberyard. I was doing this stuff, and you have to do that part, right, for the stability part of it. But I quickly started seeing that I could make more money on the side, hustling, than I could, and yeah, there was times where guys were, Saturday night, my buddies are all out partying, and I'm like, no, I got to cut lumber for a job I'm going to go do tomorrow morning. And, I'm there like, you're going to go on Sunday? I'm like, yes, it's the only day I'm not working.
Yeah. I
got to go out there, and I got to, I'm going to do this fence for somebody on Sunday. So it was, it was, that part never really bothered me. Cause I just always saw the money, and I saw that I could do that. And so, it just pretty much at 17 got in my head that I didn't really want to work for somebody else. I wanted to run my own thing, and I could control it more. And now it's even harder than back then, but back then it was, even then, to get guys, I had guys that were 10 years older than me that worked with me. I'd go, hey, do you want to make $100? You got to remember, back then I was making $6 an hour. I mean, that was like good money. And I'd offer these guys, $100 to come work for, 8 hours. And, these guys would, come out and they'd be like, no. I'm like, that's double what you make. I'm paying you twice what you make. And they didn't want to work. And I quickly figured out, not everybody's built like us.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are all different, built different. That's the way and you figured it out pretty quick. And then that just got me more excited about running my own thing, because I knew I could dominate everybody else, because I was just built different to do that. So hustled my way through it. I did it the same way you guys did it, where every dollar I made for a while just went right back into the company. You just take that money, put it in tools, take that money and put it in tools. And I put, next thing you know, is like, I remember it was a big deal when I bought a job trailer. Like, holy cow, like I've made it. Like I have a job trailer, and this is just a old crappy job trailer, but it was to me, I just was like, holy cow, I really made it. So anyways, just kind of did that and literally made a huge mistake. Told some lady that I could do a kitchen remodel when I had no business doing a kitchen remodel. Learned a very hard lesson that I lost money on that deal because I didn't know what I was doing. So I kind of was the first time I ever got slapped with the idea that maybe it's not always good to say you can do stuff that you can't do.
Yeah, probably a good thing to live by.
I mean, I'm sure with welding, tying it back to welding, probably not a good thing to cut and weld out metal when you don't know what you're doing. So
yeah,
it was similar in my world. Not a good idea to take on kitchen cabinets when you don't know how to put in kitchen cabinets. So and back in the day, which again, this is the generational difference. No YouTube, no cell phones, no internet. Okay. There's no ability to look something up other than calling a manufacturer. Maybe if you're lucky, they have a fax machine and they can fax you directions, but you literally just have to figure it out. Like we did not have YouTube. We did not have, I didn't have a cell phone to call somebody from the job site. I would have to drive home or borrow the homeowner's phone to call. So like totally different. But anyways, got lucky, was able to reach out to contractor I knew. He came in and gave me a good deal, but I ended up losing money on the deal because he had to finish it. So that was my first soiree into the full-blown construction world. And anyway, that kind of grew from there. Fast forward 30 years and here we are.
So what was your first encounter with ICF?
So my brother, your uncle, Uncle E, he's listening out there somewhere.
hello.
And we went down to the Builders Show in Las Vegas, to the International Builders Show. We decided we were going to go full blown into the building thing and new construction, and that we wanted to learn about all this stuff. Well, we ended up meeting up with some insulated concrete form guys down there, learning about that product. We found out that there was a guy doing a concrete guy kind of doing it in Boise, and we went and talked to him, worked with him a little bit, and they were looking for a distributor locally, and we wanted to step in and be a distributor and get involved in it. We originally thought we would just use it for like foundations and basements and stuff. Like it wasn't going to be what it is today. We just thought it'd be a product that maybe some guys would use for for that. And then the more we got into it, we're like, God, we can build the entire house out of this. Like, this is really cool. And back then the wood was still cheaper, so we were always at a premium. So we were selling these as like, hey, this is a really upgraded product, which I'm very much I'd like to sell the most expensive thing guy. I've never sold cars, but if I did, I'd want to sell Mercedes. I don't like selling low end product. I want to sell, and so I knew like this is a better way to sell houses is with a better product and more, a better quality product that's easier to sell, and I made more money on it. So got into that, and then it just kind of stuck. I mean, I saw where the potential was, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And like I said, now I've just been in it for so long, over 20 years, and but it doesn't stop me from learning stuff from, even you guys come out and start stacking a job and you'll see something different and you'll do it. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of a cool way to do it. So
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys see the same thing with welding. It's like, it's not all just cut and dry. Everybody's got a different style, and you see one guy does something one different way.
no, definitely. That's a huge thing in the welding industry. Is there's so many, like we learn the specific ways to do certain things from our instructor, but like then I'll go to work and I'll be doing something, and the guys at work will tell me something completely different and a different way to do something. And like the only thing that stays consistent is that you're melting the metal and conjoining two things. But other than that, it's just so different wherever you go.
So many things too that like you just learn that you necessarily don't get taught. And one of those things, like you kind of just see them online and like see these little tips and tricks that you aren't getting taught in school. Dude, the mic is in my mouth right now.
No,
it is
it's
less
not.
than 2 inches away.
It needs to be closer. I can hear it.
There.
Okay.
There you go.
This is stupid. I can feel it on my lips. But there's some things on there that
No, I'm
You
sorry.
immediately,
okay, buddy.
you
I had a-
immediately
I had
looked
a-
away from the mic.
Literally, just being around you guys has dropped my
This is-
maturity level so much that I had a "that's what she said" joke. Just wanted to fly
Oh,
out
yeah.
right there,
No,
That's
and I
fair.
was like, "Okay, I gotta back off." Yeah, make love to the mic, Gav.
So, anyways,
Perfect.
I was watching TikTok
That sounds
and
great.
You look good,
I
buddy.
saw a video where they're doing this different cutting technique.
You look like someone who would bring up a TikTok video when you're doing that.
yeah. But basically, it was oxyacetylene cutting, and instead of your typical way of cutting, you bring the cutting torch across and at just a steady rate of speed, and you keep it angled straight down at a 90-degree. That's all we've been taught. But I saw this video where you can actually, on like flat bar that's only like a couple inches wide, or even up to like probably 6 inches wide, if your oxygen was up high enough, you can crank your oxygen, and instead of following the cut with the torch, you can start the cut on the edge and then slowly rotate your wrist out and flick the flame out, and it will cut through the plate out, and it'll like tail out, but you just have to be pumping it with oxygen. And I did it on like a 4-inch piece of 1/4-inch flat bar, and it just went and cut it right off. It was perfect cut. It was awesome. But yeah, there's just a bunch of little stuff like that you pick up from even just TikTok videos or anything, or just someone else on a job site or something like that.
It's just kind of a sidebar here, but it is interesting to me. I don't know, even though I'm your dad, I don't know welding at all. This is, for some reason, I don't know what. It skipped a generation from like my grandfather to you. I can't work on cars, and I don't know how to weld. So for everybody listening, I have zero knowledge of welding other than what I hear Gavin talk about. So sometimes it sounds like Chinese, which is really interesting for me to listen to a podcast about welding and be able to enjoy it,
Mhm.
because you guys do such a good job of like breaking it down. Like I listened to certain podcasts that are talking about something I don't understand, and they just blow past all the terms. They talk about everything. Like, you guys do a good job, and I think it's, I catch you guys catching yourselves saying, "Oh, let's explain that a little bit." So I just, as feedback, like even just listening to you talk about that, it's like, okay, that makes sense to me, even though I don't know anything about welding. And you guys have been doing a really good job about that, because it is tricky to have, for guys to
Exactly.
Yeah.
to know
I-
what you're talking about.
I think we all agreed at the beginning too, that when we bring in these complicated subjects in welding, that we wanted to fully explain them, because we want to bring more people into the industry as well.
Yeah, and eventually we want to be like attaching it with videos that we'll be posting on Instagram and stuff like that, so we're able to kind of show visually what everything is when we're talking about it, like kind of like the hot pass. Like, we want to show the hot pass, like us doing a hot pass or whatever it is, because it really is, welding's very far from, I feel like, a lot of other.
It's an art.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like it's dissimilar to a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's more technical, I think, than a lot of like.
Exactly.
Well, I think it opens it up to having, like you guys said, like more styles, right? Like, there can be one type of weld that can be done 3 different ways by 3 different welders. Like,
Yeah.
because of the artistic aspect of it, there's guys that do it differently, right? You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think that's what's interesting, because I think the more you guys explain it, and I think the value to me and everybody else, I think, about like with a podcast like this, is that they get to hear you guys talk about it, and then if they do it differently, what you'll start to see the interaction with the listeners, and they'll start sending you guys messages and stuff and be like, "Hey, you said you do it this way, I do it this way." Now that's something to talk about on the next podcast. Like,
Yeah.
that's
That'd be
my
awesome.
suggestion to you guys, is as you get the feedback from people, bring it back up on the podcast, and so that other people are like, so if there were other people listening, but they didn't have the guts to reach out to you guys and said, "Well, this is the way I do my hot pass," or "This is the way I do this." That way, they're like, "Oh, they hear it." So I mean,
Yeah. I mean, that would be awesome. That's one of the biggest goals, is to in terms of like where we're at right now. Our next goal is to like start getting feedback from people that we don't necessarily like know, or like
Right.
have it's like specifically advertised the podcast to.
Yeah, just like, I don't want to say random people, but like, because they're still our listeners.
when
but
you're getting
just-
comments for more people than Mimi, It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
people than my grandma in that experience. And Trevor's little brother.
Yeah.
No, it's a fun. I remember when we got our first like comment from a guy, and I'll never forget it because it was so off the wall. But the guy says, I got a comment from, every comment I got was from people I knew or people I worked with or people that I'd shared the podcast to.
Yeah.
And when I knew we were starting to get good downloads was when I got a comment from a guy and he says, you guys should have a guest on and talk to somebody that owns a strip bar.
Why?
And I
You
was
have a
just like,
reason?
I'm like,
Hi.
that was random. Okay. Like we're talking about like business and sales and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then he sends another message because I didn't address it apparently. Or, I didn't, and says, yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to know like all the ins and outs. People probably don't understand the business side of a strip bar, and you should have someone on to talk about that. And I was
That's
like,
kind
wow.
of
Thanks.
That was
Kinda
a
sick.
really,
Thanks.
really interesting way to open that up.
right. And I was like,
Yeah.
cool. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, I'll see what I can do.
That's funny. He was so adamant. He commented twice.
So it was like, but it was kind of funny because I always remember because I was like, I couldn't figure out. It was, I kind of looked, it was like legit dude. I was like, because it's one of my buddies messing with me, but like, it was kind of funny because as a podcaster, you're like, oh, well, at least there's some guy that's listening and where I can't remember where he was, but it was like, I'm like, you wonder how they come across it or whatever. But it's something where I think you guys, I think you guys have like a niche because you're going to have people that really want to know about welding listening. And then you're going to have, like you said, the people just have a good time listening to you guys. And,
Yeah.
and then, where they're just going to say, like, they're going to stumble across you and they're going to be like, oh, these guys are kind of funny. I don't know anything about what they're talking about. But there's also a lot of people that think they're welders, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That think they know what they're doing. And so I think you guys do a good job of bringing in the, technical educational side of it to where you're like, this is what they're really teaching us versus some of these guys are just, welding in their garage kind of thing, figuring it out. So,
Yeah.
but you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah.
And it'd be awesome to be able to like be a help to those people who are just
Yeah.
welding in their garage
Yeah.
and just like be able to provide some of that information with the things that we get into that are more technical that we explain. I think it'd be awesome to have some sort of feedback saying, hey, you guys helped me with this. I tried this technique you talked about and it worked super well for me. I think that would be like a huge milestone.
Yeah, and you guys are setting it up right where like even just with your titles, everything's showing, what it's about, and if it's, about hot pass where, like I said, I don't know any of the terms, but
Yeah.
if you guys are labeling them correctly and people can look them up. We were having this conversation at dinner last night with our friends that are builders and they don't podcast. He has a YouTube channel and he does YouTube stuff. But we were talking about him podcasting because we were saying that if you did a podcast, you would actually be able to educate people on specific things. So if you want to talk about foundations, you want to talk about framing, if you want to talk about windows, doors, whatever you want to talk about, people will go back and the analytics show that people will actually go back and search those items later. So like 10 years from now, someone might be trying to figure out how to do a hot pass and they may go back to your hot pass, podcast about hot passes and say, oh, I'm going to listen to this. So
Yeah.
it's important. And I told them the same thing. It's important to keep your podcast fairly date neutral. So you're not talking like I was really bad in the beginning with my podcast. I'd talk about what football game was on. I'd talk about like, oh, it's football season or, oh, we're going hunting or like I would timestamp that without knowing I was time stamping it because I would say to people and I maybe eliminated somebody from listening to it because they listen. They're like, oh, this is old. Where if you just do something pretty generic and talk about a thing, it'll live forever.
Yeah. And that's the hard thing too, is the balance to where it's generic enough for everyone, but not boring.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're getting sidetracked. That's the other, like talking about Harbor Freight tools for 15 minutes.
Okay, listen, I was trying to talk about something that was interesting.
And it was too interesting. Me and
It
Gavin,
did. It got real interesting.
Me and Gavin went
Harbor
through,
Freight did put out their first welding table ever, though.
and I got it.
I sounded all about it. I don't even need a welding table, but after listening to you guys, I was going to go buy one because I thought it was such a good sales pitch.
Well, there you
And
go.
I like the fact that you guys are recognizing that Harbor Freight doesn't really sponsor a lot of people. Maybe you guys could be the first
That would be
Sponsorship.
so cool.
I wouldn't.
I know one of you
That'd
guys
be
mentioned a
badass.
NASCAR. I do think they have a I do think I've seen them sponsor a NASCAR.
Well, let's see if
Yeah.
they'll give us NASCAR.
Yeah, put me in a
I
NASCAR.
want a NASCAR.
Seems like a good idea.
Yeah. But kind of off that topic. I don't know about you guys, but I've been receiving a lot of feedback lately from people watching.
Like who?
Like people that you know.
No, not people I know.
What's
Not
it?
people I know.
Huh?
People who add me on Instagram or Snapchat, just random people, and I get a lot of feedback about the podcast.
Like, explain a lot, because I haven't gotten a single thing.
And it can't be like a lot.
I
We've
mean,
got
if-
like 27 viewers.
If you
Well,
look,
it's probably about
And it's
in the
26
10,
of those are
probably
my
10.
family.
it's probably because of his blinding good
I
looks.
can't.
They're
He probably like from his modeling career.
None of them
It's
saved.
probably
but-
because the ladies go crazy for a muffin top.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody knows
What
that.
the?
Yeah, man.
Dad,
Yeah, man.
dad bods are in.
Yeah, man. I slay with the dad bod. But
Oh boy.
yeah, no. I keep getting people texting me like, "Hey, I've never really thought about welding before, but I just watched the podcast and I definitely want to give it a try now. I'm more open to that." I'm like, "Hey, that's
What the heck?
awesome."
Huh.
Have you gotten any messages like that? Me
You
neither.
guys haven't got a message?
You guys are not.
Uh-uh.
You guys are
Why, that's
obviously
so
not
weird that
approachable.
they're messaging me because you're the tech guy.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but people don't really know that.
Yeah, but honestly, I love that you guys are reaching out to me. But maybe try our email.
Yeah,
that would be
awesome. The
Yeah,
email,
we do have an
yeah.
email.
the
so
email's
that
set
would
up
be-
specifically for feedback. So anyone who wants to get
Yes.
feedback, our email is open.
Yes,
But
that'd
we're-
be great.
We love feedback. So
Yeah, I love that you guys are reaching out to me. I really do. Yeah.
That's awesome.
that is hotpasspod.
Hotpasspod@gmail.com.
Yeah, hotpasspod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's us.
It is us.
Tag it.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, dude.
Huh.
Yeah, I tag it in every episode.
Tag
It'll be in the description of every episode. So
Yep. We're just this whole episode. It's just going to be playing like an underlying tone, like an infomercial.
Oh yeah, like on the news, there's just a bar
Yeah.
scrolling.
Hotpasspod@gmail.com.
I like that, man.
Oh yeah.
Trevor, would you want to get a little bit more detailed about like what ICF is and like what's innovative about it?
It is a insulated concrete form. That's why they call it an ICF, and it's basically it's a giant Lego made out of styrofoam. Is the best way to put it. It's got locking nubs on it that lock together just like a set of Legos. So no different than you're 5 years old playing with Legos. You just stack up blocks around the outside of a house or a structure, and basically we put rebar in every course, and then when we're done stacking it as high as we want to stack it, we pour the concrete in there. Concrete goes inside and hardens and basically forms the outside of the structure. So it's the reasoning for it is because concrete creates thermal mass, which is a very energy efficient way to build things. If you've ever lived in a house that has a basement, you know that the basement's always cool in the summertime and warm in the wintertime. It's because it uses the thermal mass of the concrete and the ground to hold the temperature where it's at. So we basically build above ground basements with it. So it just keeps every house more energy efficient. We're about an R. So like a normal house they call it an R19. It's got an R19 bat in it for insulation. It really only tests out because of the 2x material and stuff in there. There's air leaks and stuff. It's only about an R13. We consistently will test it an R52. So meaning,
Wow.
for somebody that's paying the power bills, you are paying about 1/3 or 1/4 of what the normal power bills are on a house. So
Wow.
a lot of savings. There's a lot of selling points, just different places. In the mountains, where it's a fireproof product, your house won't burn down. So people they worry about forest fires. That's a big deal. Tornadoes, it's tornado proof, hurricane proof. All of these things that we can, really help out. So on the coastline, we're seeing a lot more of it being built down there because of hurricanes. We even get it, if you got any prepper listeners out there that are, prepper welders, that it's a bulletproof house. So it's bulletproof up to 50 caliber.
Wow.
There's a lot of preppers up here too.
Yeah. It's been
yeah.
ballistic tested. So we do have a lot of guys like a safe room or a safe house, basically, that they can, there's no way a bullet's going to get through it. So, and and then soundproofness is another big one. So people, you guys got the train that runs through here a lot. You've got, people that will build their house if they're close to a road or a train or an airport or something like that out of concrete because of the sound feature of it. So
That's cool.
yeah, it's just innovative because it's, in the world today still, or not world, in the United States and Canada today, it's still 90%, 90, plus percent of the market is built out of 2x and out of wood.
Yeah.
And so we're a very small niche-y part of the market. And so it's still considered a new innovative product. So we've done that for the sake of, got into that because we want to do something different, want to do something better. And that's why we've stayed with innovative. Everything we do is innovative.
And so I'm pretty sure a lot of people have drawbacks as far as thinking that the outside and inside of their house are going to look like the walls are concrete.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true, is it?
No, it's we attach the same siding to the outside that we attach to any other building. We do the sheetrock right on the inside. You attach it with the same features as far as screws and nails. Nail on the siding, screw on the sheetrock. Everything's the exact same. But yeah, you're right. Everybody thinks, oh, it's going to look like a bunker. It's got to look like concrete. It doesn't. Most of those places, I guarantee you, every person that's listening is driven by ICF houses and ICF buildings and don't even know they're looking at them.
Do you want to plug your Instagram? So, because I know that's a good place for
sure.
people to see.
Yeah, you want to see everything. So everything with us is Build with ICF. So at Build with ICF on Instagram, we've got the buildwithicf.com, takes you to our website, which is all three of our companies. You'll be able to reach out and talk to all of us. Definitely suggest talking to Heather if it's any smart questions because she can answer all those. But we've got everything on there at Build with ICF. So we're actually in the process of launching our Build with ICF podcast, which should be out here in the next month or so. So we're just working on,
which we will probably be on.
Yeah, we will definitely slide that in there, get you guys on. I want to have you on the Wreak Havoc podcast too. So we're gonna hold on. Oh, hey, it's Uncle E. Hey, Uncle E. Hey, you're on the podcast right now.
Oh, fantastic! Do you remember that time a little while ago when I said we were going to buy a cow and split the meat? I bought that cow and we got a butcher, and I'm up at your house. Where did you plan on putting this meat?
You guys are all exactly
awesome.
alike, dude.
It's winter time. We're gonna put it outside.
I think you're going to have to. We have 4 boxes of beef with hamburger and steaks and everything, and I don't know where we're putting it all.
Oh, Heather says we're buying another freezer on our way home today.
You got the trailer.
Well, I think my girls are doing some Houdini stuff and getting it fixed. The only thing I can't fit in there is one of the big ass briskets. There's no way it's fitting in anything.
All right, just stick them in the coolers and we'll deal with them when we get home.
Okay, I think we can get everything but that brisket. Everything's not organized like you wanted it to. Yeah, it's like we just don't house everywhere.
Don't waste too much time to it. Just put it in coolers and we'll figure it out when we get home. We're literally, this is what's funny is I accidentally touched my watch and answered your call, and I'm holding the microphone right now. We're actually recording a Hot Pass podcast right now.
Nothing makes me happier than when someone says I accidentally answered your call. Hey, sorry we're talking. I accidentally picked up.
I would prefer to not be talking.
I was trying to screen the call and I accidentally touched it. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate the hospitality.
Dude, you guys are exactly alike. My goodness, the whole family is exactly the same.
Get this cow in all your nooks and crevices here, and
Well,
your dogs are in the house.
Well, you're officially the second guest on the Hot Pass podcast, so congratulations.
That's 2 in 1 episode.
I'll send my bill.
Whoa! I don't know. There's a bill. He accidentally answered. There's no bill.
Thanks for reminding me, guys. My brother doesn't want to take my calls. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll call you when we get done with the podcast and head home.
All right, love you guys.
All right, bye. All right, well, there's Uncle E.
That was awesome.
That was good. That was good.
If anyone couldn't hear, Uncle E was having an issue fitting a whole cow in your freezer.
Yeah. He's at my house right now trying to deliver a cow that we just bought, and apparently we don't have enough room in the freezer. So
That's
there could be a
actually-
whole podcast about that.
Yeah.
What we did with the cow, but
Yeah.
sorry. Back to before I accidentally answered that call.
It works out pretty well because you can just finish up what you're saying. We'll have to
We gotta wrap her up.
pretty soon, but I mean that gives us a pretty good little.
Yeah, that's a good little ending right there. But yeah, I am going to have you guys on the Wreak Havoc podcast. I just really, really like what you guys are doing. The one thing I didn't get to touch on that I just want to tell you and your listeners is I think the biggest thing I get, the biggest compliment I can give you guys is just in general is your hustle. The world is missing that right now. The more you can spread the word of your guys' work ethic and what you guys are trying to do, whether it be through the podcast or just even to your friends and the people you work with and go to school with, the better off we're all going to be. Because at least in the construction industry, we're hurting for good workers. We're hurting for good, hardworking kids like you guys. And just to watch you guys do what you're doing is super impressive. And I think you guys are you're obviously going to already successful. You're going to be more successful. But if you could use this platform to grow the popularity of hard work instead of like people wanting to just sit around, play video games and be baristas at Starbucks, then I think that you guys will completely crush it with this stuff. So I look forward to a few more podcasts with you guys and definitely watching how big this thing gets. I'll watch you guys pass me with downloads and stuff here pretty soon.
That's the goal.
Yep, that is what we're trying to do.
And then it's Joe Rogan. Yeah, because I heard you guys are past Joe Rogan now.
Yeah,
so.
we're past that.
Yeah.
But no, thank you guys for letting me jump on here and
thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor.
I will share it with my millions of listeners and try to help get you guys a little bump in downloads. But no, I appreciate you guys. I'm super proud of all of you. I think it's awesome what you're doing.
Thank you.
Do you have like a final closing motivational statement? Just a little.
Was that not it?
That's pretty.
Well,
here's what's motivational is the fact that if you guys do, I will warn you, if you listen to my podcast, it's explicit. I say a lot of dirty words. That's why Gavin talks the way he does, is because I use profanity fairly eloquently. And I've done a heck of a job not fudging up today.
You really have.
Saying something. So anyways, that was motivational. I'll end with this. It's a visual. I don't know how this is going to play out because we audio wise, but yesterday I saw something that Gavin was doing and it made me think of why you guys are all successful. Is he was trying to get this brake or clutch thingamabob. What were you putting on there?
trying to put the transmission back on.
Yeah. And so I look over, I'm watching him and he's got his foot in the wheel fender, pushing on something with the transmission with his foot. He's got one arm over on this hoist or on this card jack. He's got this one over on this jack. He's spread eagle, and he's moving them all at the same time, trying to fit this thing in. And I just was like looking at, and I go, "That's what the world needs more of."
That's my son.
That's my boy right there. There he is, making this weird humping motion as he's pushing arms and legs down all at the same time.
He's very practiced.
What he was doing was doing whatever he had to do to get it done. And if you guys, I feel like that's what I've done my whole life. I've done whatever I got to do to get it done. And I think you guys are all built the same. And I think you guys all do that. And if you keep doing that, you guys are going to be super successful. So really proud of you guys. Just keep doing it. That's my motivational ending right there for you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Trevor.
Yep, thank you for coming on, and go check out the Wreak Havoc podcast, guys.
Yeah, check out our Instagram at Hot Pass Podcast. Email us at hotpasspod. hotpasspod@gmail.com.
There we go.
Sorry for the shorter episode today. We had a bit of
Timing issues.
yeah, there was quite the wreck that our guest ran into.
Someone fucking died.
Well, thanks for the way to end that one. Wow, we went to all that work for the motivational ending. And this is what we go with.
You got it, dude. Yeah, you buttered that one.
Well, I think we just do the extra now. I think
yeah.
you just
All right.
hit the music.
Thank you, Gavin.